Hello, welcome to this video on using GetComponent as an alternative to tags. In this video, we're going to cover basically just that, how to use GetComponent instead of using tags, which are strings and are a bit error prone, and then also checking for null references. So let's jump into the video. So currently, the way that we detect if we hit a coin or if we hit an obstacle is we check the tag attached to that game object. And something we mentioned before is that this can be a little bit error prone, especially if we end up with a lot of different tags. And also another issue that we could run into is that game objects can only have one tag at a time. So I can't select multiple of these. If I choose obstacle, it's no longer a coin. If I choose coin, it's no longer an obstacle. And there could be a time we need to check, well, is it A and B and C all at the same time, or I care if it's any one of those. And so we're going to move away from tags, and what we're going to do is use game object to check. And the way that we do that is maybe a little bit clever. We're going to try to get the component that we want, so for example, coin. And if we get that, if we find the coin component, then we can say, okay, well, this is a coin, but there's a chance that that reference will be null, which means it didn't find the coin component. So for example, on an obstacle, we check, is there a coin component? Well, that'll give us null because there is none, and then we know it wasn't a coin. So I think what we should do is let's start by taking this get component to try to get this coin component. I'm going to cut it, so Control X. I'm going to put it outside the if statement. So right here on line 17, we're trying to get this component of type coin from the game object called other. Now coin could be null or coin could not be null. And so here, instead of comparing with the tag, I'm going to say if, I already said if. I'll say if coin is not null. So this is not equal to, it's exclamation mark equals, says not equal. So if coin is not null, then what that means is then the other game object has a coin component, so it is a coin. That's what that's telling us if coin is not null, because we tried to get the component and it turns out coin is not null, it is some component. Okay, so that's the basic pattern here. Let's try that and just make sure that works for coin. So let me save this script. We'll go back to Unity. Okay, let's try dragging our player through a coin. Now we still see that the coin logic is running, so I still see the 10 being printed for the value of the coin. Or I guess that's actually the total number of coins I have, but I'm still seeing that number being picked up, and that wouldn't happen if I wasn't in here, so that's good. Now I should just make sure that I'm not secretly using the tag somewhere else, so I already took away the coin tag from the script here. Let's just take away, I'll save it. Let's just take away the coin tag as well from the actual object. In fact, I'll just go to add tag. I'm just going to remove both of these tags here. Remove, I can't remove it because it's being used. Okay, I'll take away the tag and I'll remove both of them. And I guess coin is still using it, so make that untagged as well. And now try to remove both of them. There we go. And let's just play it and make sure that we can still interact with the coin. Okay, so we interact with the coin just fine, but we can't interact with the obstacle anymore because we didn't use GetComponent there to check if it's an obstacle. So that's your challenge for this video, is to implement GetComponent as an alternative to tags for both the coins and the obstacles. So you'll get rid of the compare tag method and get rid of the tags themselves, and just use GetComponent and check if it's not null, then we know that the component exists. So I will let you pause the video and give that a try. Okay, good job for trying the challenge. So this is pretty much just copying the logic from the first part of this if statement here. Now you'll notice an issue though if I go and I say, well, let's do this before, we did the coin check before if, let's do the obstacle check. So I'll cut this out and I'll put that before else if. And you notice we have an issue. Here it says, well, there's a whole bunch of things it's trying to figure out what you're doing. Else cannot start a statement, syntax error, blah, blah, blah. And so the problem is that an else if has to come immediately after an if. And so I can't have any lines of code in between this curly bracket and this else if. And so in this case, actually, it makes a lot of sense to take away else if and just have another if. And then there's no more issue there. Now we'll have to fix this line still. So maybe I'll fix that line. I'll just say if obstacle is not null, then the other has a obstacle component. So it is an obstacle. But the reason that if is okay here is actually that if we had if and else if, we would just be checking for this one, and if that one was true, we would skip over the second one. But actually, at this point, we could have, let me rearrange my comments here. At this point, we could have an object that is a coin and is an obstacle. Maybe not those two things specifically, but we could have two different components that we wanted to check for on the same object. And so it makes sense to actually allow the code to check for multiple different components. And so we'll check if it's a coin, we'll check if it's an obstacle, and maybe even later we'll check if it's something else down here too. So that looks like it should be working just fine. Let's just test it to make sure one more time. And then once this is working, as so, perfect. Awesome, it looks like it's working. Then we will see you in the next video.